Eventually.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Comic Frontline Live. This week we have a special edition where we're doing a Robin Hood ongoing series, a special live show, and we have with us the creators from Robin Hood. But first I want to introduce you to the Frontline crew. You have me, Jay, Philly Superman, Comic Book Theater. You have Chris and Cindy, Dark Avenger C86, and Chocolate Pancake Ninja.
Mike will be here soon. And Tommy's in the background.
You got Kat, Comic Uno.
Hey everyone.
Hey guys.
And you have Mike.
We have a special edition.
Comic Book Corner 2.0.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Alright, and now from Zenescope, we have Pat Shan.
Hey guys, I'm Pat Shan.
We also
What am I supposed to say? I write Robin Hood, Grim Fairy Tales, and I have a beard.
the almighty beard. He has the Chuck Norris of beards. We also have Larry E. Watts with us.
Hey everybody. Hi.
You want to tell everyone?
Last 3 miniseries. It's me. I don't know.
Okay, and we have Tony Brescini.
Hey, I'm Tony Brescini, and I'll be illustrating helping the pencils and inks for issues 4 and 5 of Robin Hood.
Okay, yeah, we're gonna, this is a big move for Pat Shan and for Zenescope because Robin Hood's finally getting ongoing. So, the first question I want to ask you, Pat, is since you helped create Robin Hood, how does it feel that one of your creations is not only getting a brand new series, but it's an ongoing series, and it's your first ongoing series, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it's my first one as writer, and I'm super happy. You know, Robin Hood was my first major gig at Zenescope. Before that, I had only done one-shots here and there. Then Robin Hood's sort of been my baby since then. So for it to be ongoing now and for the fans to have reacted to what we've done already the way they have, and for the reviews to be coming in already for Robin Hood #1 the way they are, I couldn't be more pleased.
I loved it. I read it today actually, so I can be in the mindset of Robin Hood. I wanted to be in that mindset when we got to it. I loved it.
Thank you.
Mike, do you have a question for? Oh, well, you know, Larry, since you've been with Pat for a long time with Robin Hood, what are your thoughts on it going from a series of mini-series to an all-out ongoing series?
You know, the whole time we've been working on it, it seems like it's just been a long story anyways. So it's not really, we've always been kind of telling a big, long, cohesive story. So I think it's just good that we have the faith to keep going without, you know, trying to shove it into 5 issues or something.
Yeah, you have a longer place where you can actually get to tell a full-on story.
Right, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, you have a question that you can ask?
Yeah. First of all, I wanted to congratulate all 3 of you on obviously working on this series. Patrick, obviously, you know, you started it from the beginning. I remember reading that very first issue when it first came out, and you know, I passed it along all to these guys to give it a try, and everyone here loves it, and obviously you're getting a you know, welcome response for everybody else that reads it too. So congratulations to you guys. And my question, one of the questions that I have right now, was I love the way Robin Hood is drawn. So this is also for Larry too, or whoever else wants to answer it. When you came up with the design for Robin Hood, did you give Larry a design? Did you have something you had in mind of the way she looked? You know, the whole eye thing that was going on. Did you want to make her a little bit more traditional? What was your thought process? And also, Larry, did you have other concepts, you know, drawn too with the character?
Well,
Pat can answer it first.
yeah, credit where credit is due. The initial art design for Robin Hood actually came from EBAS, Eric Boscaldua. He needed to. He was the first one doing the cover. So the B cover for Robin Hood #1 was actually the design. He made up the blind eye. So when I was writing it, that part was already in place. You know, basically the overall plot for the first issue was already in place. So it's kind of poetic that Larry came on with #2 because #2 was actually the first issue that I got the plot and almost fully right. You know, so #2 is really the start of my run with Larry. But ever since then, Larry has really made Robin Hood his own, as you can see. You know, the two of us were talking in Calgary when we were at the con this year at Calgary Expo, and what was funny was I have been writing Robin Hood with Kristen Bell's voice in mind, as if she's being played by Kristen Bell, and Larry, independent of me, has been drawing her as Kristen Bell. So it's a pretty funny coincidence, but it shows how in line the two of us are on Robin Hood.
That's awesome. And based off of this new ongoing on issue 1, I thought the artwork, I thought so far for Larry, the interior artwork was, I think personally, my favorite. I really liked what was going on inside the artwork in there, especially the introduction pages, like showing the eye, how this was how the eye is showing in there, and certain elements of her carrying the bag and things like that. Like I like those little things that were pointed out in that issue. But yeah, I mean, it's good, and I like hearing that stuff though. I think it's cool. So we can pass another question on to somebody else and save my other questions for later.
Actually, funny that Pat said that him and Larry put in Kristen Bell, because I just had the cat today. When I read it, I felt very Veronica Mars about it. Something about it felt like Veronica Mars with her voiceover and all that. Because Veronica Mars, for those who don't know in the audience, she does that voiceover for each episode, and I felt that vibe with it, and I pointed it out to Kat, and she was like, "Yeah, I do see that too." So, but Kat, do you have a question?
Yeah, in the same vein as kind of television Veronica Mars, I'm going to access to Pat. Is Robin Hood inspired by the show Angel, because it has that feel to it a lot? Like when I first read it, I'm like, wow, this has such an Angel vibe to it, and I know you're a big Buffy and Angel fan, so did you get inspired by that, or not really?
Yeah, I think that any work that I love inspires me to some extent. But specifically with Angel, my first ever comics gig was with Angel, as I talk about often, because I love Angel. And I thought that Robin Hood as an ongoing would also be a pretty cool place to use some of the story elements that I wouldn't be able to get to do on Angel, because when I pitched for that series, was a very hungry writer, and even though I knew I would only get 2 pages, I had ideas for like freaking 40 issues, so I think that Robin Hood, because she's the idea that was actually pitched to me by Ralph Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Zenescope. He was like, if we end up doing Robin Hood as an ongoing, I want her in New York, and I want her to be sort of solving cases, and that was the 2 cents that he gave, and from that I was able to formulate ideas for what I had already planned to do with other stories in the past, and just like sort of put all these ideas for this one weird kind of ongoing standalone episode, but not standalone series that is what Robin is becoming. Because since she has the sort of monster of the week element with the issues, it does have the Angel feel where the each issue sort of stands alone by itself but builds into an overarching narrative. So there is that influence there, yeah, but there's also a sort of gumbo of other weird influences too.
Awesome.
Chris, do you or Cindy have a question?
Cindy walked out. Mike's here now.
All right. You or
Cindy
Mike?
became Michael.
Mike, do the Rock 18.
Yes. I actually do want to know, Are you planning any guest stars like Agent Red making a reappearance after the miniseries we had with Agent Red and Robin Hood, or Steela or anybody else making guest appearances in the Robin Hood ongoing?
I think that is a great question for Tony.
All right, Tony.
Well, are we allowed to announce it? Is that that's not a secret or anything?
Yes.
But yeah, Code Red's going to be one of the guest stars for issues 4 and 5.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Oh, sweet. That's awesome.
I guess Pat knows what the people want.
Yeah, in 4 and 5, we're not only bringing in Red Riding Hood, but also the villain from Code Red, Ivory. So we're going to have sort of this. The overarching idea for that storyline is Robin Hood and Red Riding Hood versus a city of monsters during a blackout. So it's sort of like cool grindhousey story, and Tony's art style is perfect for that because if you guys read Hellsing, his style is very inky, very shadowy, very splashy, and it's sort of like, I don't want to use the word gritty, but it's dark while also being like very lively, and the characters are just also kind of cute in some ways too, you know. So he gets the human perspective and the actions of Robin and Marion as if it's sort of like a Brian Wood-esque drama comic, but then the horror scenes are just insanely scary. He drew this one where this little girl, her mouth sucking in all the lights of the city, and it's horrifying. So so yeah, the long-winded answer to that question is yes. We have other characters appearing.
All right. Here's a little thing, Pat. A little type of follow-up, a fun little follow-up. You're a cat person. If anyone pays attention to your social media pages, you love taking pictures of your cats.
Yeah.
Robin Hood has a cat.
Yes.
How does did you ever like balance her affection for cats with her friendship with Brittany, who was a werewolf? Like, dogs and cats?
That's a weird question.
Well, like she has this like sort of like best frenemy relationship with Brittany,
yeah.
And she's a cat person.
That's really funny. I never thought of it that way. I never made the connection, but that's now that's true. Yes.
We're a little weird here on Frontline, so if you get a weird question, yeah.
No, I'm a weird guy. I like weird questions. There's my cat right there. Kitty.
All right.
So I wanted to say one thing real quick, Jay.
Okay, go ahead.
So Tony, I know you're going to be in issues 4 and 5, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Are you going to be doing future issues after that too, as well? Are you and Larry taking, story arcs, or we don't know yet?
We don't really know yet. So right now I'm just on for 4 and 5.
Okay.
And we'll kind of see how things kind of shake out, I suppose, in the future.
Gotcha.
All right, we have a question from the viewers, and this is from Ursa ER Safeguard 1, and the question is, how is Robin going to handle living with a roommate as she is more used to living alone?
That's a great question. I
have to guess that. Yeah.
Robin has lived alone for a long time, and I see Larry smiling, and I know why. But all right, Robin loves Marion. Marion is a girl that is unreservedly enthusiastic about the world, which is the very opposite of Robin. Robin is She doesn't want to be, but she's often cynical. She gets angry very easily, and Marion is the exact opposite. So I think that them living together, they're a perfect kind of balance to each other. Marion gives Robyn what she has never had in another person, and Robyn shows Marion a world that excites her. And I think that it's an adjustment because Robyn has the tendency when living alone to do nothing but just watch Netflix and be depressed. But Marion, her presence there will incite Robyn to not do that, I guess. Marion is excited about everything, so she'll want to see the world, and maybe Robyn will be around to help her see that world, and to introduce her to now maybe learn what's exciting about the world through the eyes of this person who is a witch from a different dimension, so she hasn't really seen live music. She hasn't seen Broadway plays, so maybe Robyn will see the world anew through Marion.
That's great that you said that, because I really loved how she was very bumbling over social media and like internet games. Like she called it like miscontent birds or something like that.
That was
it was really funny when she said that.
Yeah, that was a good moment. Yeah.
Larry, you've been on this character from pretty much the beginning with issue 2 of the first mini-series. What's your take on it as an artist, and just as someone who's very grounded and familiar with the character?
It's a nice change. It was getting sort of woodsy there for a while, so it's nice to draw her in an urban setting. So I'm excited about all the opportunities we have there, because in the last 3 books she gets sucked into mist, and she has just basically what she was wearing. So we have even an opportunity just to actually see her in like street clothes and like different settings other than what we've seen her in. So it's gonna be fun.
One of my questions actually I had to bounce right off of that, so I'm going to sit down with ask other Frontline crews for questions. Since the first 3 minis and some of the one-shots took place in Mist or other realms and stuff, what is it like for you, Pat, as a writer, to write her in an urban setting, especially your old stomping ground, New York City, and Larry, for you to draw something other than medieval times? So we'll start with Pat.
The whole idea of the first few miniseries, the trilogy, was that Robyn is sort of our view. She's this modern girl who's much like us in a fantasy world, so we sort of saw the world through her. I think that putting her in a setting that we see her in a different light, and it's exciting. It's a different story. It's a brand new story, and I think that changing the setting as drastically as we have now is going to shed light on both Robyn and Marion as women, and sort of let us explore different aspects of their characters that we wouldn't see in a fantasy medieval-esque setting. It's exciting. I'm pumped.
Cool. And Larry, you want to expand anything on what you said previous about it? The differences, like how much you're looking forward to drawing other than woods?
The only thing that kind of sucks is I don't know when the next time we're going to see Muck. He's kind of just stuck, So just seeing some of those characters that we've been hanging out with for 15 issues. I'm just kind of wondering what are they doing. Other than that, I think I haven't said I'm pretty happy with it.
Oh, cool.
I'd like a whole Muck issue sometime. It'd be cool.
I would love to do that. I would.
Let's see it happen.
Mike, you have another question that you would like to ask anyone on the panel?
Yeah, I know we were talking about Marion, and so one of my questions was, in this issue we get to see her introduced and really kind of what her personality is, and in the Earth realm, and so not sure if you can answer this, but can you give us some kind of like what are your plans for the future with Marion?
Uh, yeah, Marianne is my favorite character. I think she's fascinating because Marion is a gay woman who is living in a world that is a lot more open to who she is than Mist ever was. So I think she falls in love with the world, and maybe maybe lets we the readers see the world in a way that we haven't before, because her world was a world that's smothered by the idea of men being knights and men being powerful, and here she comes to Earth and sees Robyn as powerful, and maybe sees that she, through Robyn and through her own growth, can be powerful as well. Because I think that Marion always felt powerful. If you read the end of Robin Hood Wanted, she wants to fight right alongside of Robyn, and I think that when she sees powerful women, singers, actors, people in pop culture doing their own, and gay women living out of the closet, where she in this could never do that. I think that's going to be very inspiring for her, and I think that she'll also have to grow in a certain way too, because a plot point that we established in issue #1 is that Marion's magic. She's a witch. She was very powerful in Mist, and her power was growing. On Earth, her power is more limited because of her lack of a connection to Mist, and she's going to be exploring that and asking herself why her power is tied to Mist that way.
That's cool. I'm excited for that. And then I got one other question I want to ask right now, and this goes off of Robyn's side. Now, we all saw what happened with Will Scarlet at the end of the last series, and so my question is there any plans for a future love interest again?
You just took
Robyn?
Mike's question. That was mine.
You know, but I would encourage fans to read into it however they want to. But in the future, maybe. But right now, I think Robyn is mourning Will, and to tell the truth, I wouldn't even call Robyn and Will a romance. I think that they both saw their relationship in drastically different ways. But I think that Robyn is still kind of finding out who she is and finding out what she needs to be at her core to be happy. So I'm not sure if she's too worried about romance, but it's something that I always have in the back of my mind when plotting these stories out, because I have a very specific view of Robyn, and I have a very specific view of where her story is going and the characters she's going to meet, the characters that Marion and the supporting cast are going to meet. So in my head, I have all these directions that I could go.
Right.
I don't really want to spell out and say, yes, it's definitely going to happen, because a few elements of the trilogy, while it was pretty plotted out, didn't end up surprising me. So I don't want to be married to anything that I haven't already established, but I'll give a big we'll see.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. I mean, she obviously is a very tough character, so for her to let anybody in her life, I don't. Me personally, I didn't see it happening anytime soon either, and I think just for her to be, roommates or besties with Marion was a stretch in itself. So just to see those two in the actual book together, totally two opposites, was what made the book for me actually. I love how the opposites kind of attract there.
Yeah, bouncing off of that, I never really saw Will and Robin as a couple, but more as he was a catalyst for her to open up, because she was always so blocked off and, you know, guarded with how she felt about other people after, you know, her father and then, you know, being attacked and everything. That I think I always saw Will as more of a catalyst. He like opened her up again to where she could let even, you know, Marion in as a friend, you know.
Boom.
I wanted to ask Larry, off of what Mike was saying about Marion, you redesigned her. A pretty dramatic redesign too, because she went from, you know, the Mist, where she was very medieval, you know, traditional type, to a complete 180 in New York. What did you get from your inspiration from that from, and what was your mindset when you went into? Was it like, I'm definitely going to totally redesign her, or was it as you were doing it, you were just like, oh wait, maybe I could do that and this? How was that process for you?
You know, when it came down to the redesign, me and Pat were actually, I'm not sure if we were hanging out online, but we were looking through some of the sketches, and without even instruction, you know, the sketches I sent him were pretty much what he was thinking. And it just so happens that it's like, he thinks it's sort of like Tegan and Sarah-y, but it was just more like, I really like that haircut. I would like to have seen Robyn in that styling. But since we couldn't do it with Robyn, I figure, you know, Marianne's sort of like fresh to everything, so she just, you know, that's what she'd look like. She'd just dive into like pop culture and just be on point already.
She's the risk taker.
Yeah, she goes to this radical change. She's like, oh,
yeah,
I was.
it's like the slingshot thing.
Yeah. Go right into it.
Kat, you have a question?
Yeah, sure. Right now we have Marion and Robyn part of this big investigation group. Are we going to see the group grow with maybe humans that they meet along the way, or magical people? So are we going to see this group grow?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's a character that we introduced in the first issue, and her name is Sam. And I introduced Sam not only because she has an awesome role to play, but because I think it's a problem that has not been addressed, and that I and the other writers at Zenescope have tried to address, and I hope that we have had some success recently, is that fans have pointed out that Zenescope has not been the best in its representation of women of color. We haven't had almost all of our main characters are white heterosexual females, and I think that that is something that we're all addressing now, and that has been a sort of problem that we are looking to amend. You know, we want, especially with the books set in New York, set in this melting pot that I grew up in, we want it to be a book that has a realistic representation of not only New York, not only of our readership, but of people in general. So I think that it's the most essential thing to me about the book is actively seeking to make a book that is representative of the world that we live in, and the world that we live in is not one color. So I definitely tried to introduce Sam, some members of the Cabal, and other supporting characters that are coming up in Robin Hood. Though I will also say that fans of our other books will also probably be pretty pleased with the cast as it grows, because we're not only going to be introducing new characters, but also, as Tony said before, bringing in older characters like Red is coming in. Eventually, we'll Robin Hood and have Liesl Van Helsing as a pretty core part of the cast. Have probably Hades is going to be in the cast. It's always going to be centered on Robin and Marion and Sam, I think. But as the cast grows, they'll have smaller but active roles.
It's great to hear. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the diversity and just seeing this group grow because I think that's going to be a really important thing to the book. At least that's what I got from it with the first issue.
Yeah, you know, what I loved about the first few series, the trilogy, was that I cared as much about Gisborne, as much about Will, Bella, Mary, and Muck as I did about Robin in writing it. And I think that Larry, when drawing, would ask me, why are you doing this to this character? You know, why are you hurting this character, killing this character? He was fond of the supporting cast, and I'm writing these characters in the back of my head, wanting Larry and Tony to love these characters I'm introducing as much as people loved the characters from the first few series. So I do hope that the response is good, because the things I have planned, I like them, so I hope that you guys will too.
I'm looking forward to it.
Cindy, I know, has a question. Cindy.
You don't have to go over here so they can hear you.
Oh, I did that. Alright, this is for Tony. And my question is, do you use a paintbrush to paint or draw? And if you do, what's the difference with the texture of a pen than it is with a paintbrush?
I do ink with a brush. I use the Raphael Sable brushes, which apparently the sable that they make the brushes out of has been discontinued. So I've got one good one left, and I have to figure out something else. But yeah, I use like a nib for like a small, like a little crow nib for small details, and I use a couple of brushes for the big, more expressive strokes. And that's really the main difference, is that you just get so much more variation. And one of the reasons I work traditionally over digitally is because I can't get those like those good mistakes that happen when I work with a brush that I don't get when I work with digitally. So that's mainly why I do it. It's kind of, a lot of times it's just trial and error, but yeah, it's just nibs and brushes, and then tech pens just for straight lines and stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Michael, do you have a question?
Yes, I actually do. My question is, we've got introduced to the new Realm Wars comic book of that there's going to be 12 issues.
Uh-oh.
What?
It froze down.
Oh.
What?
You're okay.
There we go.
You've been on our side.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we got introduced to the Realm Wars comic book, and it's going to be a 12-issue series, and it looks to be like really excellent. My question is Realm Wars going to have any impact on Robyn, the character,
and the
itself,
series,
and the series as well?
No. I mean, I can't get much more into it, but Realm War is its own thing. I have a vague idea of how it ends, but I am not playing with any of those elements in the ongoing series.
So it's sort of like an after, but not telling you where it's at exactly. You're not going to give anything away in Robin Hood until after that concludes, correct?
Exactly, yeah. Robin Hood, obviously there are two different worlds. Realm War is set during an apocalypse, and Robin Hood is not. So obviously they don't take place at the same time. I can't give too much about how long Robin Hood is afterwards, because I also don't know how Realm War ends, because Joe Brusha, the president of Zenescope, is the mastermind behind Realm War. So when I'm seeing the proof online and like sort of proofreading it, that's the first time I'm seeing the actual issue. I've talked to Joe to make sure that I never contradict what he's doing, but he has encouraged me on both Robin Hood and Grim Fairy Tales to not worry too much about Realm War and to just do my own thing.
That's cool. Chris, do you have another question?
Yeah, I had one question. It's about Robin Hood's been a miniseries. It's gone three stories, and now it's an ongoing. What is with the series now as an ongoing series? It obviously adds a whole different dimension to the character, to the series. What kind of an impact of it is on you with the stories? Because now you have to constantly have a story each and every month, as opposed to having a mini-series, taking a break, and then going into another mini-series. And then for Larry, how is it different? Because obviously you're going to be taking a break for 2 issues, but from a mini-series to an ongoing series, what kind of an impact or a change is that for you guys?
I mean, for me, with miniseries, and I think Larry would agree, there have been times where the two of us have wanted to on certain elements, and actually the same with Tony and I on Hellsing. Tony, there are some pages where I would do 8, 9 panels a page because I know Tony could do it, but I would do it also because we have full issues. Larry sometimes would ask for a double page spread or a splash page, and I'd be sitting here writing the issue feeling bad because I'm like, wow, I wrote too much story here. There's too much plot to cover, and we can't do that. But now in the ongoing, it's like I can do whatever the fuck I want. You know, I have no final issue that I'm going for. We have no limit. You know, I could suddenly say, hey, I want to do this storyline for 1 more issue. I want to finish this storyline this issue instead of next one. And I can just move to the next. You know, it doesn't matter at all. Especially if we stay ahead, and I could be writing way before solicits. I can kind of take it wherever I want to. And Larry could be like, hey, Pat, how about a splash page? Tony could be like, hey, Pat, how about you not be an asshole and not do 9 panels on the page? And then I could be like, sure. You know, so.
So basically, you just have more freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, it makes sense though. You know, it's like, oh, if I want to, you know, make the story longer or put more into it, yeah, you can add another issue. It totally makes sense. I think that was cool. That was a good question, Chris.
Hey. How about you, Larry?
Oh, I mean, pretty much hit the nail on the head, man. And there's like those battle scenes in any of the miniseries. I think those could have gone on for pages. You know, some of those panels should have been entire pages, in my opinion. You know, we really we don't have to jam it in there anymore. So it's gonna be nice to see some of that stuff kind of breathe a little bit.
Now, when you guys did those minis, was Pat, was it up to you on how long these minis were, or was it was it saying, oh, we want to do a 5-issue or a 4-issue, or was it the other people, others that said, okay, well, you only have 5 issues to do it?
Kind of a mix, but more the latter. With the first series, it was already set in stone that I would have 5 issues, and the finale would be a double-sized issue. And so then when I pitched the second series, Wanted, I laid it out the same way. So it just got made that way. And then when Joe Bruscia, president of Zenescope, told me that we're doing the ongoing series, I had to ask him if we could do Legend first, because he wanted to jump right into the way he thought of it was he wanted to do Robin Hood Volume 1, Robin Hood Wanted, and then an Age of Darkness miniseries, and then do the ongoing. And I asked him if we could do Age of Darkness as a one-shot, do Robin Hood Legend as a miniseries, and then do the ongoing. And I had to ask him if we could do number 5 instead of 40 pages, 22 pages, because I wanted to be sure that Larry could draw Robin Hood number 1 for the ongoing. And for him to jump right from a 40-page book 1 month to another book the next month was just too much to ask. It just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
So I had some minor pull, but basically the format of 5 issues per mini was laid out for me.
Gotcha. That's great.
We have a couple questions. One is a fun little question, and I'm going to pretty much answer this because it's Grimm Fairy Tales and Grimm should do a crossover. Any plans for other possible meetings? Just wanted to say that Grimm is run by IDWs. I mean Dynamite, I believe. So
Yeah.
I doubt that that would actually be able to happen with the different companies. But
No,
if
you know,
you could, would you? But if you could,
I mean,
would you?
Dynamite does crossovers all the time with different companies. However, I don't watch Grimm. I don't really have any interest in Grimm as a TV series. However, if they wanted to do a crossover with a different property, like Troy Brownfield does Blood Queen Lair, I would love to do a Helsing versus Ash Army of Darkness miniseries. That'd be awesome. But no, Helsing versus Vampirilla. That'll do. That'd be great.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Great.
And Robin Hood and the Army of Darkness. I would do those in a fucking second. But
I'd buy those in a second.
Grim, I was just talking about this. I think to this podcast. I write Grimm Fairy Tales for a living. I write Robin Hood set in the same universe. When I watch TV, I am not interested in fairy tales or Grimm whatsoever. I want to get as far away from that as possible. So if they do that, good on them, but it's going to have someone else write that one.
Tony, Vampirella, Helsing. Would you be on for that?
I'm up for anything, yeah.
Another question we had from one of our viewers is, speaking of Marion, her romantic advance on Robyn didn't turn out the way she wanted. Will that be revisited again?
I wouldn't call it a romantic advance. I think it was just Marion was obviously enamored by Robyn in the moment Robyn saved her, but I think to call it a romantic advance is as if Marion was planning it and had a specific outcome in mind, which she didn't. I don't think it seemed like she was trying to manipulate Robyn to kiss her, because that wasn't the situation. But the idea that Marion is interested in Robyn, that's definitely going to be revisited, and it's some subtext in the ongoing series. But also the idea of Marion's admiration for Robyn and who she is as a strong woman is definitely going to play into it. But I wouldn't say that it didn't go the way that Marion wanted it to go. I think that Marion is open to any avenue there, I guess. It's not the best way to phrase it, but there's not much I can say there.
You mentioned strong women. Now, in comic books, and you touched on this before, on the different variations of how characters are in comic books, what we're used to given in the comic book. And I've seen you mention it on your social media also, where it's usually like the industry really has a strong hold of what the straight white male character is. That's what we see all the time. Good guys are good guys, bad guys are douches, and there's that blur line, but there's always the good guy's the good guy. Women kind of don't really go that route with comic book. It's more like the women writers write them strong and independently, where the male writers tend to flip-flop a little bit on them, and they're either bitchy or in a negative way, or they're just helpless. I know you write strong women, and you write various forms of strong women where they're not just the same cookie cutter woman. Tony worked on Helsing with you, Larry on Robin Hood. What's your thoughts as all three of you? What are your thoughts on that in comic books?
I talk a lot about this, so I'll keep it as concise as possible because I could fucking talk about this for hours.
Podcast.
I think it's important. I think it's very important to support books not only featuring strong women but by women. I think that so supporting books like Lumberjanes is the lifeblood of our industry. So supporting books like Wonderland, because now we have Erica J. Heflin, who is an incredibly strong voice for women in comics. She just took over Wonderland this month, and she's doing a fantastic job. Couldn't be happier. And just looking beyond, oh, I like Captain America, I'll buy this book. I like this generic white male character, I'll buy this book. I would love to see a comic book world where more books like Miss Marvel can exist. And I think that as big a part I can play in that, I will play, but it's up to the reader to support women and support strong female characters and strong female creators.
Larry, what's your opinion on it? As an artist, expressing that through your art.
Well, you know, for our book, just in general, you know, I think we've always just tried to be respectful. Robyn's a really cool character. I think that's what's drawn me to her, and you know, I read. I don't know. I mean, I don't think anyone's a fan of a two-dimensional character. I think it's sort of a. It's pretty easy to say that people aren't trying to portray women correctly in comic books, but I think if you take a good look at the landscape of comic books, I think that's changing, and it's just like Pat said, all we can do is try to support those books more. But there's plenty of good examples of books coming out now that are kind of changing that stereotype. You know, I think there's a good movement in terms of just presenting minorities and you know, gender issues in comic books, whereas, you know, like say 10 years ago.
And Tony, your thoughts on it? And also, Tony, I wanted to side this with you went from Hellsing to Robin Hood, two different types of characters, almost two different worlds, you know, but they got a similar element to them. So does that play into it also?
A little bit. You know, the first part of the question, I'll just go with what Pat and Larry said because they said it so well. And but yeah, as far as between the two books, it does. I mean, they both take place in New York. There's kind of a. I mean, well, Hellsing took place all over the place. But as far as, you know, like they're, you know, strong, independent characters, and I think that's always kind of been my main draw. Whether it's books or movies or whatever, it's seeing kind of like a diverse, just things that are kind of like mixed up a little. You don't want to. You know, I don't think anybody's really a fan of like cookie cutter media where it's all the same thing where you know what you're getting. So, you know, like with the books I've been doing with Pat, and even Asylum before that, you know, just all the characters I think are pretty well rounded, and you know, like my favorite character to draw on Hellsing was Mina Murray, and she was only in it for one issue. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but yeah, I think that there is like a link between the two books, and that's kind of what keeps me interested in drawing them, is the relationships that Pat writes into the books, and me illustrating that and try to get that across on the page.
We have a comment, not a question, it's just a comment. Was it F.some0741 said Justice League Dark and Realm Knights crossover would be epic.
I agree. I mean, yeah, I would love to do that. Justice League Dark characters are awesome. In fact, just to get those characters in the same realm as our characters, I would love to have. I just want to write dialogue for Swamp Thing sometime. Some Swamp Thing Constantine kind of thing going on. I would just love to do that. So, yes, I agree.
We can have a a top hat showdown between Hellsing and Zatanna.
Oh, that would be interesting.
That would be.
That'd be a fun one.
I'm down for it.
Mike, Chris, and Cindy, do either of you have a question?
At the moment, no. I basically asked all the ones I wanted to. But Larry, I would definitely, since Jay said he'd love to see Tony do Vampiro, Larry, I'd love to see you do the Army of Darkness comic if that ever happened with the crossover. I'd love to see how you would draw Bruce Campbell.
That's thanks. It's gonna be cool.
Would you had something?
Yeah, I had a question. After we read Grim Fairy Tales, when we got to issue 100, we found out that the Dark Queen has basically take over all the realms, basically letting the villains beat the heroes. Like, my question for the story and art-wise, like, how is it, how did you, come up with the villains beating the heroes, and how has it changed for you?
I mean, I had nothing to do with that. I was in the room when they were talking about it, but Grim 100 was written and plotted by Joe and Ralph, and Anthony had a part in doing it too. But yeah, that I can't take credit for that one.
All right, Pat, you have Grim Fairy Tales 101 coming out tomorrow also, besides Robin Hood. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a completely new story. It's almost a new #1 in a way, because the cast is new, the location is new, the feel is new. It's a lot more young adulty. It's sort of like Harry Potter meets Buffy, and it's just brand new. There are characters that fans will recognize, like Seela. She's always been the lead of Grimm, and she's still in it. She's taking a bit more of a background role to this new cast. So I think it's the perfect time for fans who have seen. It's kind of hard to not notice when an issue hits freaking 100. Now, not many comic books hit 100. So I hope that fans who have seen that Grim Fairy Tales is not going anywhere will give us a new chance with 101, because I'm pretty excited about this new direction.
Oh yeah, it's a very great issue. I read it almost 2 weeks ago now, and I did a review on it. It was a great new direction, and it does feel fresh and renewed. And like you said, not many comic books these days go past 100. They don't even make it to the triple digits anymore. You get 30 if you're lucky, and then you get thrown back. So it's really great that you got up there.
You're lucky to get 20.
Especially nowadays. I think a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
I think we lost Chris and.
Yeah, they'll be back. They froze it out. Chris and Mike froze out.
I had a comment that I wanted to go back when we were talking about the females in the comic books. One of the things is that you guys, when Grim Fairy Tales first started, it was focused on the female characters. And do you think that, as of late now, we're seeing Marvel and DC, and we're seeing those big two create more female leads in their comic books? Do you think that it's possible that they saw how successful you guys were with that, and they're kind of, well, I don't know what I'm saying, copying that, but
inspired.
Yeah, inspired by it.
They're seeing your success with it.
Right.
You know, I don't think so. I think that it's more fans. The female fan base is growing. Women love and read comics, and I think that comics for a long time has been a boys' club, and I think that the entire industry is realizing that they've been idiotic and are starting to that reflect more on their audience. And I think that Marvel and DC are making great advances, and I don't think that it would be right for me or Zenescope to take any credit for that, because I think it's more that the fans have been so outspoken and are still doing it that Marvel Studios should be making a Black Widow movie. Should be making a movie with a person of color as the lead, rather than having another movie starring a white actor named Chris. So we can't take any credit for that. But I'm glad that it's happening. I'm super glad that it's happening.
Yeah, I liked how you guys basically kind of started, I'll say, the trend. That's the way, it just seemed like you guys did it, and now, it's like you said, comics are changing, and they're realizing that they need a different demographic, but you guys were kind of like the first, in my eyes, to do it, At least that's
on
the
a
way
larger scale. On a larger scale. Like DC's always had one or two female-centric books. Marvel's always had one or two, but you've done it on a larger scale where maybe one or two male-centric books and the majority of them are female-centric. I think that's what Mike's trying to say. Like, your balance is more in the opposite way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you definitely have an audience for it because people are buying these books. They are supporting them. And despite how great Godstorm is, it's a mainly male-dominated book that book was, where Goddess Inc. is a little bit different with the female. And do you think that would, how's that doing? Like, how's that going right now? Since that's
awesome. It's written by LaToya Morgan. She's a writer for AMC's Turn. She wrote some Shameless. So she's a treasure. She's awesome to have, and it's great to see her working with the gods, because I was pretty much the only one for 2 years. To see what LaToya is doing, she's doing things that I never even thought of, and I'm just super pleased by that. So I hope that fans will check that out too, because LaToya is awesome.
Yeah, that's it. How does it feel to know that, like, because I know you're really connected to the Godstorm characters, you said it before, like you really love them. How does it feel that someone else is like running with that?
It feels good. I said what I had to say with Godstorm. It was a statement about life and about mortality and fatherhood. It took me 2 years to say, and I've said it. I'm done, and I am stoked that LaToya is saying something new with these characters.
Would you feel the same way if someone in 2 more years takes over Robin Hood?
No.
Because I know, like, certain writers, they feel that connection with their character that they don't want anyone ever touching them again. But then there are people who are like, yeah, I want to see new people take on the take. So you're that writer who really has that strong connection where it would be harder for you to read someone else writing her.
Oh, sure. What was cool, though, was in the Dark Queen one-shot, Eric Esquivel, who's a writer I vastly admire, he had Robin Hood there. He wrote her there very well. It was cool seeing Robin Hood in the Age of Darkness stuff that other people were playing part of, but to see someone else write a book called Robin Hood starring that character would feel like I've walked in on someone fucking my wife. I'm not into it.
Larry, since go ahead, Pat. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I'm playing it up because I just want to seem like I care, and as much as I do, there might come a time where I'll feel differently, because when I was writing Godstorm, all I wanted was more Godstorm. I just wanted to keep telling these stories with these characters. And then after a while, when I was writing the Hercules Pain series, I was like, man, I'm kind of spinning my wheels here, and that's why I invited Chuck Brown on as co-writer, to see what he had to say about these characters. So with Robin Hood, who knows, But at this point, the idea of someone else writing her is physically painful. But maybe in 2 years, it won't be. Who knows?
Larry, Tony's taking over for you for 2 issues. Are you as territorial with her currently as Pattis? Like, did you give Tony any notes like, I don't want you to touch, I don't want you to do this, like, or did you just say, go have fun, do whatever you want?
I'm not really territorial. I'm actually really excited to see what Tony has in store for everybody. I've seen some of the artwork. I think it looks great. And I mean, at this point, I'm just excited to see what other people do with the character. Actually, before Tony, there's another artist coming on. I've seen some of her artwork as well, and it looks great. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to see, I've seen more artists on the covers. I mean, the comic book was started with Dan Glassell, so I mean, I've seen other people, handle Robin Hood, so I've kind of developed a thick skin towards it, I guess.
Does that inspire you, like seeing other people's work? Does it inspire you to move up your game, step up your game? Like, oh wow, he did that. She did that. Maybe I can take that and add it to it.
Yeah, like when I saw the Art Germ cover for Wanted #1, I was like, God damn it, this is just amazing, So yeah, you see other people draw the character, and of course it's gonna push you to want to bring something more to the table.
And Tony, as an opposite of that, do you feel pressure coming onto this as someone new to Robin Hood and taking on what Larry has really made his own, even though it started with another artist and other artists have added a little touch to it, but you're kind of coming into Larry's home plate?
Yeah, I'm definitely in Larry's playground, so yeah, there's some pressure, just to not be the guy that screws it up. Luckily, there is another artist coming on ahead of me to kind of, I think, bridge that gap a little bit. So I won't be the first one doing that. But yeah, it's Larry and Pat both put such like a stamp on this book that it's really what I do. I think is fairly different. But yeah, I went through Pat sent me PDFs of all the miniseries and the previews of the first issue, and yeah, it's very difficult to kind of like look at it and be like, all right, I need to get this point across, but I don't want to copy what Larry's done, and so basically it's just me having to make sure I can live up to what he's already put out there and kind of do my best to fill his shoes already. So, and I do appreciate them both being cool with me coming and contributing to the book that they've already really. Wow, I cannot think of words today. That's awesome.
That's right. That's me most days.
That they're so tied into. Too.
I saw some of the pages on Pat's Tumblr. I mean, they look phenomenal.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. I hope everyone checks them out.
Yeah. Pat, what's the difference between the two artists for you?
Oh wow. They're both really good. I love them both in very different ways. I wrote each part of the series specifically for them. I didn't script Robin Hood #4 until I knew Tony was going to be doing it, because I had learned his style from writing him during Asylum, writing for his work during Hellsing, and Larry and I have this sort of way that we work together, and now Tony and I do too. So it's sort of like playing the same game with two of my favorite artists in the whole industry in slightly different ways, But I think that their styles are both very conducive to Robin Hood, even though they're both very different, And yeah, I mean, it's hard to even say what's different. It's just that they both excite me in very different ways, and I'm just in love.
We have a question from one of our viewers. Is for each of you. I'll start with Larry to answer first. Are there any other fairy tale characters that you really want to draw into the series? Like, if you could pick anyone that you would want Pat to write for you to add into the series, what would it be? Who would it be?
Man, I'm not really sure. I'd really like to get a crack at a Hellsing and Robin Hood issue where they're like hanging out together. I think the character design for Hellsing is awesome. But yeah, like fairy tale characters. I don't know. I could see some, like, if we could bring any type of character into Robin Hood, like maybe some like annoying fairies or kind of like that thing in Zelda that kind of like follows around. Like it's really annoying version of it. But I mean, maybe Marianne is already kind of like that. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Tony, who would you, if you could come back, if you come back, and I hope you do, for another installment as a fill-in artist, who would you want Pat to like write in for you? It could be either someone that's already existing in Zenescope or someone new.
I really have no idea. I could use a break from Top Hats between Asylum and Hellsing. But yeah, besides that, man, I don't know. I'm drawing the story that I'm working on with Pat for 4 and 5. There's so many like different monsters and designs and stuff in it without giving too much away.
Headless Horseman, then you don't have to worry about a hat.
That's all. But yeah, I mean, yeah, good question. I don't have an answer.
Pat, who would you like to see them draw, and who would you like to write into it?
I think that question's probably more conducive to the Grimm Fairy Tale series. I just brought in some characters. We don't say what fairy tale character they play, or what mythological, legendary character is probably a better word for these two specifically. But we bring in 2 characters in Grimm Fairy Tales that have one is tied to Old English literature, and one is tied to a story that we've been kind of hinting at for a long time. So these are 2 fairy tale characters I haven't written before, who I'm now writing in a way that surprised me, kind of. So I don't want to talk about those guys too much because we can't really reveal who they are, but the attentive reader will know. But as far as Robin Hood characters, I would love to see Larry draw Hellsing, and I was so stoked to see Tony draw Robin and Marion. So I am 100% pleased where we are now. Though when I bring Abella back, I'm excited to see both of them draw her.
I just want to give a little insight into the Grimm Fairy Tales 101. Right here on our e-panel with the Zenescope creators, one character from there that you're referencing that you didn't say exactly who they are, but you mentioned wanting to do right here on the e-panel.
That's true.
It was thrown out between you and Macy. So if anybody wants to go back and check that out, you can get the little hint from there. Kat, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One, are we going to see more grounded elements with Robin Hood now that they're in New York City? Are we going to see them really interact with New York and humans and, of course, the magical stuff too? And the last question for me is, Robin Hood's coming out tomorrow. What are you looking forward to people reacting to? Like, what scene do you really want people to love and just react to if you had to pick one?
All right. Well, the first question I think is a resounding yes. Tony will definitely agree here. The opening of Robin 4, she sees that a woman is keeping a cat in her hot car with her windows up, and Robyn just loses it. The opening of the issue is her screaming at this lady, and then the fallout of that. And then the idea for number 6, which is, I believe, the issue that Larry's coming back to, is the sort of dual story of Marion searching through New York City to find a reason why her magic isn't as strong as before. And also, it's the idea that for some reason, men, almost as a whole, think it's okay to approach a woman and say, "Smile. Why don't you smile?" So Robyn deals with a guy who tells her to smile in a way that only she can. And so, yeah, she'll definitely be dealing with more grounded elements. And so will Marion, which is interesting to me as Marion's origin. So, yeah, definitely that. And as far as the ongoing, I'm excited for every friggin' page. I love what we're doing. I am in love with the story. I'm in love with the art. I'm in love with everything about it, and I can't wait to see if I'm alone in that or if you guys agree. So, yeah, I'm excited to have it in stores. I'm excited to hold it in my hands. Every little bit about it excites me.
It's going to be awesome.
Before I ask Mike if he has a question, I want to read a question from one of our viewers. Scotty Showman 1 asks, being an artist, be it in writing or illustrations, it's one thing to create an idea in your head, but another thing to see it come to life in print and have someone react to it. What was a cool, rewarding moment you guys had seeing an idea or illustration come to fruition in the pages of Robyn Hood? And I'll start that with Pat.
Man, so many. This writer who I know, Brian Lynch, there's this thing that he said one day that every time he gets an email with artwork in it, it's like Christmas. And Robyn Hood, more than any other book for me, that's true. In that I'm currently getting emails from 2 different artists, and when I get emails from Claudia, who's drawing number 2 and 3, Tony, who's drawing 4 and 5, and every page that Larry's drawn, it's just been it's this excitement that just it is unparalleled by any other experience that I have. It's sort of like I used to write plays, and it's akin to the feeling that you get as a writer sitting in the audience when you see your play on stage being acted by people who are far more talented than me, and just bringing the work to a level that I had never imagined. And the same goes for what Larry and Tony are doing. I'll look at a page, and if you guys follow my Tumblr, you'll know I am unable to keep the work to myself. I should probably wait a bit longer to put out pages from, say, Robyn 4, which is out in, I think, November. I see it now. I'm so excited, So, yeah, I'm dumb excited. Just, yes, super, super fucking pumped.
I feel the same way every time I see one of your leaked pictures from it. I get all excited about it because I'm like, why did you just show the one panel? Why couldn't you show a whole page? I get like that because I want to know more. I'm sure other people do it as well. Larry, how about you?
The coolest thing for me was just seeing the book on the shelf, and then seeing the first trade come out, and then the second trade come out. I don't know. It's kind of nice to think of how much work me and Pat have done over it's almost been 2 years now. So that was really cool. And then the other thing, some of the major deaths, whenever those would happen, I'd know about it for months ahead of time. And then once people started getting advanced copies of the book, or even reading the book, I'd slowly get a barrage of emails or messages, basically asking why did we do this, and every time I'd kind of forgotten about it by the time the book came out. So I used to always get a kick out of all right, let's see how this one goes. Will Scarlet dies, in Wanted. That was just like insane. I had people just distraught over it. I was like really surprised, and because I didn't expect to have any sort of feedback whatsoever. But we get some vocal fans for the book, so that's always been sort of like incredibly surprising for me, especially as a newcomer.
Tony, since you're pretty new to Robin Hood and your issue isn't out for a couple more months, you can say Robin Hood, and you can also pair that with any other piece of work that you've done previously. What was your big moment?
I guess as far as like a big moment would probably be like the end of Helsing, which is kind of like was a few pages of like a big emotional thing, and I won't give it away. It's been out, but it's kind of seen how it came out, and I'd done like a really dark, shadowy scene, and so seeing how Fran Gamboa, who colored the book, handled it was really interesting to me, and also something that Pat brought up earlier. Pat wrote an 11-panel page for me to draw, and which turned out being one of my favorite pages of the book. When I read the script, I was a little bit nervous about it, but yeah, I thought it came really well, and seeing it printed. As far as Robin Hood, I just finished a double-page spread that I think kind of broke my brain, which is probably why I'm having trouble speaking today. But I'm really excited to see how it comes out with the colors and stuff. And I was actually just scanning it, so Pat, you'll see it probably tonight. But
Awesome.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how that comes out. And actually, I could show it. It's on my desk right behind me. Is it cool if I show it?
Oh yeah, go for it.
All right. You probably can't see it because it's on the webcam, but.
Oh no, you can see it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Great.
So then
I like it in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Black and white special for Robin Hood.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I spent the last 2 days doing that one, and I snuck in some. There's God knows how many monsters and people in that crowd, so I just sneak in like a Teen Wolf, and I think I snuck in Willie Nelson because he was on my Spotify playlist.
Oh, that's what your tweet was about today.
Oh yeah, I think sometime last night I tweeted that.
I saw it today about Teen Wolf.
Yeah. And the original Michael J. Fox, the real Teen Wolf, not that whatever's on MTV. So. I'm sure it's a fine show. I just haven't seen it.
It's a good show.
Yes, me and Jay love it. But yes, the original is good too.
I'm an old man, so I just don't take the old one.
Larry, you wanted a big splash page. How does it feel to see Tony's art right there? That big splash page with all those monsters in it.
Well, that's a double-page spread, so I mean, I was kind of thinking like, what? He gets a double-page spread?
Uh-oh.
No,
Pat is going to be at his computer right now writing up something for Larry for his issues.
Yeah, I mean, I love just seeing everyone's take on Robin Hood. That page looked awesome, man.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
Mike, you had a question?
Yeah, I did have a question. In Robin Hood, we all know who the villains were in Robin Hood, and that's kind of what made the character today, where she's at now. Now that we have a ongoing here, what type of villains that we are we going to get in this series? Are we going to get your mystical type of villains? You're going to get your witches or vampires, or are you going to get another new enemy to add to the list? Because obviously you want to continue the villains in the series to make them good, because that's, I think, what makes a great book, in my opinion.
I won't get too much into it because I think that we're playing with here is the mystery surrounding this group called the Cabal. But issue 3 will show that the Cabal they are the primary villains of the series.
Okay.
But, how can I phrase this? I don't know if you guys have read The Sword. It's this book by the Lunar Brothers, and what inspired me about that was how in that book they give as much screen time to the villains as they do the heroes. That we're using the Cabal, which is there are multiple characters that make up the Cabal. So it gave me the opportunity to sort of explore what makes each of these characters do what they do. So I hope by the end of it, they'll be looked at less as villains and more as characters just as lively and as 3D as Robyn and Marion. But we'll also have crazy villains like Tony's drawing 4 and 5, which has Ivory, who is this were creature who is obsessed with Red Riding Hood, and she's insane. She's like the Harley Quinn of the werewolf community. She's
That's
out
awesome.
there. She's pretty much a villain. You know, there's no doubts about her being a villain. And we'll have characters like we're gonna pull in Dracula from the Hellsing series. It's just gonna be this sort of book where you never know who the threat is, if we know them, if they're new, if they're really bad, you know. So it's 100% open, and I'm happy for it.
That's cool. So it kind of creates this type of mystery then, in a way. You know, when you present someone in the book, you may not be sure if it's hero, villain, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm excited for that. That gets me pumped. Just hearing some of the things that you named there in itself just gets me excited for it.
Awesome.
Okay, we're going to be getting ready to wrap up soon, but I said earlier that, and you mentioned earlier, that Grim Fairy Tales 101 also launches tomorrow. It goes on sale tomorrow. So Chris has a question for you in relation to that book.
Well, it's actually questions that a few people have been asking me. Like, it's been mentioned that it's a perfect jumping on point. New readers, especially people who miss out on the first 100 issues of Grim Fairy Tales. And my question, or everybody's question to me, was, we have the first 100 issues, and we knew the direction that Grim Fairy Tales was going, led to this issue. Now, moving forward with 101 on, we're going in a completely new direction, and you tweeted that, you mentioned that it's going to be a mixture of several things. What can we expect from issue 101 moving forward from the series? What can you give, for example, for people who are thinking about tomorrow going to the store and picking up issue 101, what can you tell them to get them interested, or what can you tell them to give them a little bit of insight on what to expect from issue 101 forward? As far as the direction.
Okay. The cool part about what we're doing in Grimm Fairy Tales is that the Grimm universe, the central mythology is that Earth is surrounded by the 4 realms of power. There's Neverland, Oz, Wonderland, and Mist. The first issue of this new series, 101, establishes that we can go anywhere in this book, though the storyline is grounded on Earth. At any given point, the characters can go to Neverland, Oz, Mist, Wonderland. So it's sort of any character that you love from fairy tales, from public domain, at any point can appear in this book. This is very much going to be the centerpiece of the Grimm universe and show that this isn't just Grimm Fairy Tales done in a comic. This is every story that you loved as a kid done for you in comics, but just coexisting together in this strange, fun mishmash world. So while the cast is new, while the direction is new, it's just playing with what we've already had in a fun and inventive way. But also, the coolest thing about it is that it's, for me anyway, is that it's a long-running series, but it's this fresh point. It's a point that's so new that every time I reread it, and I reread it so many times, I was just making sure I was treating it as if Grimm Fairy Tales never existed before, as if it's a brand new story that new readers will be able to just enjoy from the start without having to worry about any continuity. So the lack of a tie to the old stuff is probably what's most exciting to me.
We have another question from ER Safeguard 1. The question is, interested in Sayla and Grim Fairy Tales number 101. Will we see the return of characters from the past, like Belinda?
Oh yeah, Belinda is one of the main characters of the series. The main returning cast is Seela, Shang, and Belinda, and the main core cast is Sky, a character named Wolf, a character named Ali, Violet, the Mad Hatter from Wonderland, and Healy, who is a water nymph from Neverland. So we like to there are characters that they'll recognize and new characters, sort of to balance out, rewarding the returning fans who love Seela, Belinda, Shang, and making it friendly for the new readers.
Okay, I have one final question. It's going to be a pretty much fun question, something that we've kind of asked before, but in a different way.
Okay.
If you could be one type of fairy tale character or other realm character, mythology, whatever, in a Grim Fairy Tale book, who would you want to be yourself in that book? Who would you put yourself in? Already established or not established? Like what world would you like to live in?
Huh. Robin Hood. I would live in Robin Hood's world. I would. Who would I be?
Yeah, like how would you fit into her world?
Who knows? I mean, I would come over to their apartment and listen to some cool music, I guess. Yeah, I most relate to Robin and Marion, so definitely that world. And I would fit in because I'm awesome. I don't know. I know them very well.
You're a regular human.
Yeah.
You'd be just a regular. All right.
Just a regular guy.
He would be the guy that just knocks on the door, walks in, sits down, has a beer. What's up, Garrels? How's it going?
I'd be like a ginger Steve Urkel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that type of a character in Robin Hood.
It has to happen.
Tony, how about you? If you could exist in a Grimm book, what realm or world would you like to live in? And would you want to be a human like Pat or some other fantastical character?
Yeah, I think I'm cool being me. But yeah, I don't want to steal Pat's answer, but I would do I live in Robin's world because I like New York City. It seems like a cool place to get to hang out for a while. But for my own answer, I live in Southern California, and it's been like 90-something degrees every day, so anywhere cold would be my next.
How about you, Larry?
New York sounds good to me. Otherwise, though, maybe like Neverland. That would be pretty cool because flying would be pretty awesome. Yeah.
All right. Now that's the point where we normally say goodbye and we do some promotions of what's coming up, what's going on. And I'm going to start with Tony. You have anything coming out, going on other than Robin Hood? And you can promote both Robin Hood and wherever else you got working.
No, just comics-wise, it's just Robin Hood that's coming out. I'm just doing other freelance illustration stuff, but none of that's exciting. But yeah, if you want to find me online, it's just Tony Brescini at Twitter, Tumblr. Just put my name in there, and that's what comes up. And then I'm going to New York Comic Con. I'll have an Artist Alley table up. So.
Oh, nice. Awesome. We'll see you there.
All right.
Go through the California, but we'll meet up in New York.
It'll be a good weather too. It'll be kind of cold out. It's fall, so.
That sounds fantastic.
Watch it be like a big snowstorm too.
It has
And then he'll be cursing out New York. Why did I have to come here?
No, usually in the city they clean it up very well, so it'll be okay.
Larry, how about you?
I've got a cool project coming out soon. Check solicitations in September. I can't talk about it yet. So September, check out previews. You'll see my name floating around there. I've got a creator-owned series coming out in early next year from Cosmic Times called Metal Locus. It's actually something I did back in 2010, but it's finally going to hit the shelves. So that should be pretty cool. And more Robin Hood, as usual, and New York Comic Con. Yeah. I'll be there. Just look me up online, and I'll post stuff pretty regularly on no social media. So figure it out.
All right. For Larry, I want to point out because today I was trying to get you on Twitter to at you on the promotions, and when you put in Larry Watts Twitter, it doesn't really come up with yours. So I wanted everyone to know that it's L.E. Watts, W-A-T-T-S, on Twitter. So please go follow him also.
Yeah, I think it's Larry E. Watts _art.
Yeah.
I think so, but
yeah, but I mean when you or if you just doing a search, you can put in L.E. Watts because that's what comes up when I did a search.
Yeah,
but,
I think my Twitter feed's on my blog too, so just go like larryewatts.blogspot.com. You can find the link to my Twitter feed there.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people do go to follow you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. And Pat, how about you? What's coming on? What's going on? What's coming out? What do you have in the works?
I'm excited for Robin 1 and Grim 101 tomorrow. And besides that, I have Charmed Season 10 #1 coming out in October. I have a Cinderella #1 coming out in November. That's just going to be a 3-issue series. But yeah, between the 3 ongoings, Robin Hood, Grim Fairy Tales, and Charmed Season 10, it's a lot of stuff. But I'll have some new stuff coming out. I'm always working on stuff. And yeah, I think Mia Ruffino is beginning art on a book that I wrote for her last year. And that'll come out sometime later on, either this year or next. And I think that's about it. I think. Who knows? Hey, if you go to my Twitter, I'm at PatShand or patrickshand.tumblr.com. If I missed anything, I will definitely be running my mouth on those sites.
All right, Chris, Mike, and Cindy, you guys have anything coming up?
Right now, Cindy's not here right now, but me and Mike are still working on that project, the secret project that we mentioned on the last show. Everybody on Frontline now knows what it is, but you guys don't know. We'll be doing an announcement soonish on it. If you're interested in finding out ahead of time, you can check out Brooklyn Boys, you can check out Michael's channel. We did mention things there. Other than that, I'm just winding down the last week of summer work for me, so I'll be doing reviews on Frontline. My comic reviews, all 3 just went up today. So hopefully we'll get the next review up soon. Or episode 250. But other than that, really, it's going to be a mild week. Next week we'll probably get back into the swing of extra things. Epic X, we finally finished the outline stages. Brooklyn Boys, Epic X, episode 1 of 24 we should be filming that next weekend. And the first episode should be ready by the end of August. So I'm very happy about that. And we got the props that we need. So now we just hopefully have good weather.
Okay. Kat, do you have anything going on?
Yeah. Usually I have my comic reviews on Thursday. I'm going to be busy Thursday, so I'm going to actually have them early Wednesday. So I don't have a lot of comics. I'll be reviewing it then. And my schedule is going to be changing a little as I get back to class, so I'll keep you guys updated for that, like when my comic reviews are going to be. It will be changing to a different day. Also, Media Madness. We are not going to have a live show for Comic Frontline next week, so we're all just taking a break. So me and Jay are going to take that slot and do Emmy Media Madness. We're just going to talk about all the winners and about the show in general, so we're going to do that. We don't know the guest yet, so follow us on Twitter and Facebook to find out the guest for that and just more information. Also, my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter, it's coming through, so we have concept images that are going to come up every Monday, I found out. So every Monday we have 2 more concept images and then 3 one-shot stories and then the Kickstarter around New York Comic Con. So that's some information for you guys for that. That's it for me.
All right, Mike Spicerslayer, what do you have?
Just the other day, just yesterday, I posted the countdown, 12 comics altogether. Of course, worst to best. Latest thing going on right now is Fearless Foes of Spider-Man that I'm starting to get together for issue number 1. Jay, you're doing the artwork for that, so we were working on that together back and forth yesterday, which was pretty fun seeing that come to life, which was really cool. And then Realm of Dreams also issue number 3 as well. So yeah, but nothing too much otherwise. Just taking it a little bit slow for the next couple of weeks, and that's about it.
All right, Michael, how about you?
For me, guys, as always, you know, I'm gonna post some videos for Broken Boys 13 with some videos. There is going to be an announcement video that relates to the secret project, which I
did already upload it.
On my channel.
Oh, on your channel, okay.
On my channel, yeah. On my channel, I will soon upload that. I'm really excited this week for Loot Crate that will be coming out soon. And I can't wait to do a video for both sites of Comic Frontline and my channel. Let's see. As far as anything else, you know, everything's been going smoothly with everything else, and hopefully I will get back to schedule and see what happens there then. So join the Zenescope books, by the way, you know, because they're really awesome. So I can't wait for more will be coming out this week as far as the other weeks to come.
All right, and for me, I'm going to be everywhere. I'm going to have some videos on Frontline. I'm going to be doing some articles on the site, and like Mike said, I'm working with him on art on his projects. And I'm going to also be uploading this video onto the site probably tomorrow morning because it takes time to process. And on that, I want to add that I'm going to put the links to all Tony's social media sites, all Pat's sites, and all Larry sites on there, so you guys can go, you know, follow them, stalk them on social media stuff, you know, support them because they're doing some great work out there right now. And I can't say that enough about all 3 creators because they're really putting great art and great stories out there that really no one's really touching on right now. So I really want everyone to go out there and support them. And with that, I want to say thank you for you 3 for joining us once again. Great having you back here. And Pat, we're going to have you again. I want something to do with you when Charm comes out because I'm a huge Charm fan. If it's a written article, a panel type show, something, but I want you for something with Charmed.
I will always have Pat. I mean, I've Pat so far 3 times, so we'll get Pat again.
Yeah, Pat's always been here. He's an old.
He was my first interview on Dark Adventure Inc. and he's actually he's been a trend since then.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. Thanks, guys, for coming on again. It's really nice of you, and you know, good luck on Robin Hood. I hope it's so successful that you get to like issue 1,000.
1,000 would be good.
Yeah.
I want to see Robin hit that 100 mark at least. At least the 100 mark. Let's shoot for the 100 mark first.
That'll be the first goal, and then the 1,000 would be the second goal.
Yeah.
Skip 200 and 900, just 1,000.
This is the part where we wave and say goodbye to everyone. So, Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Go live.
Still
Go
on,
live.
Chris.
I know.